Hey guys, Mastergunz here. I was asked to do a video on the non-metallic metallic horizon earth or sky earth technique that I did on the cockpit of the Scorpio drive armor that I painted and posted recently. I'm by no means incredibly proficient at this technique yet. I just found a tutorial online and thought, hey, it'd be cool to try it out. So I went ahead and painted up this piece here. Just did this a couple minutes ago, just to kind of give you an idea of what the end result is gonna be, so you can see what it is now and how it starts. So without further ado, let's go over the paints that I used. So I primed everything in just a basic cold gray USN Light Ghost from Vallejo surface primer. It's an airbrush primer. I used the Vallejo retarder medium, so that you just mix that in on your wet palette. Now for the colors, what you have to remember when doing a chrome effect is you're working the center most brightest point out to the darkest point to create that focal length. And so what we're going to use here is I chose, this is in my opinion the best brown that's out there. It's incredibly smooth. So this is the Vallejo Model Color Panzer Series Camo Brown. And then you're going to need a second shade of brown, and so I went with something that's a little cooler. And so War Paints, it's Army Painter War Paints Leather Brown. We'll just need a basic black, and again, for my money, this is the best paint out there for black. It's just Army Painter War Paints flat black, super smooth, goes on real easy. Same with their white. A lot of times whites tend to go on too thick, be chalky, you see brush strokes in them. Never had that problem with this white. And then of course for the sky, we're going to need shades of blue. So you're going to need a medium blue, in this case Reaper Sky Blue, and then kind of a brighter blue, and this is Reaper Light Blue. Okay, so I just took a couple of little 20mm bases I had, or I think these are 15mm bases, and just primed them in the cold gray. All right, and over on my wet palette here, bring that up. So I've already put a drop on the palette and mixed in the retarder medium, just a little drop per. It doesn't take a lot for that stuff to do its job. And the purpose of the retarder medium is so we can get that blended effect in there. If you guys are new to blending, it is a technique that takes a little bit of practice. You have to figure out exactly how far you can push it into the next color before you have to clean your brush and kind of go back and blend it in a little more. But it becomes very intuitive after a while. So set that to the side. All right, so what we're going to do first, make sure you guys can see here. I'm sorry, I'm working behind my camera. All right, so we're going to get some brown, and you're going to paint about the bottom third in the brown. You want to make sure the coat goes on even and smooth. And there's going to be a little bit of a streak mark because of the retarder medium. It's not quite letting the paint flow as well as it probably should. That's probably pretty good right there. So clean off your brush, and you're going to go immediately into the next lightest brown, the leather brown. All right, and you're going to start by just doing a line right up on top. You can touch the brown that's below it a little bit if you want, and you extend that up to the middle line, or the horizon line in this case. Okay, get a little more paint on there if it starts to thin out. And if it's not getting 100% smooth coverage right now, don't worry, because as it dries, it'll kind of flatten out. So then what we're going to go do is we're going to go and purposely go into the brown that we just laid down, the darker brown. All right, we're going to kind of just feather that in, mix it a little bit. And again, this is the part that kind of just takes the intuitive technique. As you play with it, you'll get more comfortable with it. So with blending, you kind of have to, work back and forth a little bit. So we'll put a little more darker brown on there and kind of work that back in. Hope you guys can see that okay. And once that dries, it'll kind of give us that nice, smooth transition. And of course, if you don't want to blend, you don't have to. You could just paint a line, add a little bit of the next color paint, and just do the transition that way. But I figured I'd use this as an opportunity to show blending as well. So there's still kind of a stark line there, so we're going to blend that back in a little bit. Make sure you see that okay. Okay, so we're going to let that dry a little bit. We'll go back and touch that up a little once that's kind of dry and we see where it's not 100% smooth. All right, so then next we're going to go with the first lightest blue, and you're going to go right on top. You want to leave just a little bit of space there in the middle and just paint a line right on there. I really just love Reaper paints because they take to thinning so well and still get really good coverage. All right, now without cleaning the brush, you're going to add a little bit of the darker blue and go right above it. Now we're not actually blending yet. We're kind of just doing a gradual transition. Okay, so go back and get some of that lighter blue again. And this paint has drying retarder in it, so there we go. See, and then that's the transition we want right there. I don't know if you guys can make out that contrast, but that's the transition we want right there. I mean, in just 2 or 3 strokes, it did it perfectly. So, all right, so we're going to leave that alone because that looks pretty good. And we're going to go back with straight darker blue. See, and that already looks like a horizon, you know, if you're staring off into the distance. So put a little bit more darker blue on there towards the top. And remember, acrylic paint, as you build it up, it will become darker just because the undercoat or the color underneath it's not showing through quite as much. And again, the reason for painting it in this this process, you know, instead of having the lighter towards the top like you would think, you know, going to be the lighter to the sky. If you go outside and look right now, you'll notice that off in the distance it's brighter, but you look, the farther you look straight above your head, it gets darker. Now, I'm not a, you know, scientist by any stretch of the imagination, so I can't tell you exactly why that is. I just, you know, from an observation standpoint. So right there, that's essentially what we're going for here. Now here's where you really make it pop. We're going to get a little bit of the white I have on the palette here. And that paint's still pretty wet, so you're going to do just a little bit right above that brown. And you notice how as I pull it through, it blends. And it kind of makes it look like, you know, the you know, maybe there's a sunrise or something, and something bright's coming up over the hill there. And something else to do it to kind of, like in this case, we're painting a circular object. And so what we're going to want to do is, if this was like an armor panel or something, you want to just kind of tease the edge, feather the edge there, to give it that sense of shape. Like if this was a round armor panel or something along those lines. Just tease it, and you know, because the paint, the blue paint underneath is still wet, It's going to blend that in for you. The bristles will do all the work. That might be a little more stark than I wanted, but again, since the paint's still wet, I can go back and add a little more blue to kind of tone it down. Okay, and then the final touch, you just take a little bit of black. See if I can do this without being right up on it, and very carefully just draw a line right where the brown and the blue meet. Doesn't have to be perfectly shaped, perfectly straight. It's just kind of just to give a sense of depth. We'll add a couple little, I don't know, maybe there's some trees or hills or something in the distance. That's pretty much it. So you see the one I just did and the one that was done just a couple minutes ago. Pretty neat. I guess that could be even a pair of binoculars there. But yeah, so that's pretty much from that tutorial. I mean, I think this is my third time. Yeah, these two pieces will make these my third time trying this technique. Like I said, it's not terribly difficult, so give it a shot. It's you know, it seems kind of not overwhelming, but I don't know, intimidating at first. But once you play with it and you realize, okay, I can do this, you know, it's a really cool cool little technique to have in your work or your toolbox. All right, guys, that was Mastergunz here. Yeah, and I'll see you on the next one. Take care.